An overview now of the Xvision low light dome camera that you see in front of you here. So basically what comes inside the box is we have a user manual, we have a set of plugs and screws here for actually mounting the camera. It can be mounted either on a wall or on a ceiling. And finally we have the camera itself, okay? So you can see the dome shape here and the lead coming off it. Typically with all standard cameras it has a BNC and also a 2.1mm power socket, but it has this control, which we'll just show you here and we'll demonstrate in a few moments, which allows us to bring up the adjustment menu that's actually built into this camera, okay? So I'm just going to move these two boxes out of the way for now. So one of the first things we're going to do here is I'll start off by actually showing how we take the camera apart, okay? So we can see here that we can push in at this point here and it just allows us to lift this cover and we can just slide it forward and we just take the actual cover off here. It comes with this plastic dome on top of it, okay? So next we'll say, I'll just rotate this around whilst we have another plastic cover here. So I'm just going to lift this off here and then we get into the actual guts of the camera itself, okay? So I'm just going to mention a few of the important selling points on this particular camera. First thing is the pixel resolution on it. You can handle 700 TVL. It's very focus lens, so it can handle, let's say, an opening from 2.8 all the way up to 12mm, or in terms of viewing angle, from 23 degrees up to 92 degrees. The big thing about this camera is that it can adjust for a situation where the camera is covering an area where there's varying light levels in the camera. Now with most cameras it just can't focus for this, it can focus in on one or the other, where this can adjust and you can see both a shaded and a bright area at the one time. And it can auto adjust over the period of the day in terms of the varying light levels. And another feature of it is that if we have an area that's extremely bright or extremely dark, we can actually have some manual overrides, which just menu control will allow us to do, and we can adjust lighting. So this is really what it's for, and there's a real niche for this camera and it's proved to be very, very popular on our website for that reason, okay? So what I'm going to do first of all is just show you how we can adjust the camera here. So we can adjust it from pointing directly forward here to pointing 90 degrees straight up, okay? In terms of when we look at the side here, there's two locking mechanisms here that are also used for handles if we're trying to do adjustment here. And at the front here, this is to allow us to focus in on the specific area, and the back part is to allow us to zoom in on a particular area, we'll say inside an office or a bar, etc. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm just going to adjust these locking mechanisms to loosen so we can adjust these. So you adjust here now like this. And I'm just going to move this camera over here. I'm just going to aim it directly over at the TV trade signs over here. So what I'll do next is I'll just connect the BNC connection here. So we'll hopefully be able to feed the output from this camera onto this monitor here. So the first thing we'll see is the sign is upside down here. So I'll just turn it the other way, right way around maybe initially. So you can see here that we're focusing on a relatively large area here, okay, and the wall over. And if we wanted to come along now and adjust into a much smaller area, I'll just show you exactly how I'll do it. So I'm just going to turn this camera where you can actually see what we're going to do here. So what I'll do first of all is I'm just going to pull this handle back here. So this is to zoom into a smaller area. So I'll just turn the camera back around. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the front part here so we can actually just focus in on this new smaller area. So I'll just focus in here as best I can. I'll bring it in to focus. And we'll see here, we're able to focus in on a much smaller area. Again, the camera is turned upside down. So what I'm going to do here at this point is I'm just going to show you how we can actually, most times we set up like this, but just say we set up this camera and we discovered that the area that we set up on is a lot darker than the standard setup, and we want to go in and adjust for this so that it's permanently set for a more dark environment. But what we can do here is I'll just go over to this control here, and I just press on the center button here, and I'll bring a menu up on the screen here. So you can see there's various different setup menus here. So there's lens, shutter, white balance, backlight, picture adjustment, and there's actually an additional menu on the thing here. Now I won't go into too much detail on the various things, but maybe I'll just give an example here of the shutter adjustment here. I'll just come down along and I'll just select in. And we can see here that we have a brightness set to 24. Now if we were extremely dark background here and we needed to increase the brightness here, what we can do is we can adjust it all the way up to 255 here. Now you can see that we've adjusted it far too much, but this will be known in the business as whiteout, where we're letting in far too much light. We go back to our original settings here, so around 24, and if we kept going and making it darker and darker, we can put it all the way to 0, we can see the screen goes entirely blank. So that would then be known as blackout, okay? So, but what you can see here is that you can adjust there. So rather than leaving it just to the camera itself, if we knew there was particular environmental factors here, we can actually come along and we can adjust it to suit ourselves. So just hit the return menu here, come back out, and we can have an option for backlighting on or off. So we can see here, so it's quite bright here, so we're not really seeing the adjustments so much, but normally we would use it off. And we do picture adjust, motion detection here, so we can have it here. And a lot of these features are built into the DVRs now, but you could do a motion detection where it sees motion and it triggers the camera to action, but most of this stuff is built into the DVRs, as I said now. But on the older DVRs, of course, it wasn't. So if you just press the next screen here, I'll just come down here, and there's a privacy thing here where we can actually restrict what parts of the camera it's going to focus in on. Day and night, it's auto adjusting for that. We can set that to manual all the way down. And if we come along and we do lots of different adjustments with the cameras, and we find out that all our adjustments have actually made things work, there's a great feature here which is just called camera reset. And what we can do there is we can just reset the camera back to its original settings here. So if I just go back here, right, and we just go in here again, you'll see we had it set to 30 before manually, and when we did the reset here, it's reset to 24. So as you can see, this is a very, very flexible camera. The overall demonstration here, hopefully will give you a reasonable overview of the different features on it. So that's it anyway. The low light dome camera available on the tvtrade.ie website.